What time is it? It's Packard Folks at time. Hat? Check. Shirt? Check. Pants? Optional. Mug? Double check. Check us out at cafepress.com/PackardPokesat where you can get all this great merchandise and more.
Do you like Packard Pokesat and want to hear it on demand and on the go? Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. Available on iOS, Android, Nook, and iPad.
This is Packard Pokesat, and I'm poking at your news. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another fine edition of Packard Pokesat. I am your immutable and unmutable host, Packard Sonic. And joining me from the far west coast is Connie, Practical Magic 9.
PM9 is in the house. Who else is here?
That's a good question. And the other people who are in the house with us tonight is Tom, the atheist on from the ill that is Illinois.
AKA Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist here in the Windy City.
Yes, he is. Just don't get blown away in the middle of the conversation. That'll be hard to track you down then.
Just as long as you don't mute me this time.
I've got you. At least I unmuted you right away this time. Last time I just forgot to. I hit the wrong button. So. And also joining us, also from the same time zone, is John, the quiet atheist.
I feel like a one-armed and one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest.
At least we got three people in the same time zone anyway.
I feel so left out.
Don't worry.
I forget, are you in the future or the past?
She's actually in the past because she's a couple hours behind us.
And Talking Primate says you have four in the same time zone.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, 3 in the same time zone. Connie's actually in a different time zone. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about tonight. We're not talking Seems like it, doesn't it?
Talking Primate's in that time zone.
Oh, yes. Yes, he is in the time zone. Sorry about that. Yes.
This works better if you have a ventriloquist dummy and you're drinking water, I guess.
Yes. No, yeah, I am a goof. Talking Primate, I am a goof. Yes. I just meant here up on the screen here, not necessarily everybody that's in the chat room too. I apologize. My bad. Paul Marshall he says he's at the right angles to all no time zones. Okay. One of our chatters is in the European time zones. I actually got 2 European chatters tonight, so that's great. But again, that is not again another topic that we're not talking about tonight. And tonight we're going to be talking about something that is very near and dear to myself and several other people here on the panel. And tonight's show is... Okay, let's talk. Spare the Bible, free the mind. Childhood indoctrination and abuse. Okay, everybody, let's talk. I was going through some of the notes that Connie had sent to me and some of the stuff I had sent back to her. She included in that. We have talked on this show almost ad nauseum about how religion gets away with abuse of regular people, adult people, and children. And people still go, oh, that's okay. I'm still going to give my money to this criminal organization regardless. If a lot of the stuff that is happening within the Catholic Church, which happens to be the biggest aggressor in this situation, if this had been any other business, it would have been shut down and taken offline or whatever a long time ago.
Pull the plug.
They would have pulled the plug on them. They said this operation will not continue and cannot continue. One of the things here that there's a gentleman by the name of William Bowen. He was part of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and apparently in his church that he was a part of, he's not part of it anymore. He was basically kicked out. And this is on the wiki. There'll be a link here below. Somebody had become a pastor who was a child abuser. And he said, hey, I don't want this guy here. And everything he tried to do, he was rebuffed. And because of everything he was saying, that's what got him kicked out. He founded an organization called Silent Lambs back in 2001. He's a second-generation Jehovah's Witness. Now, he served as an elder. Before we go any further, you can be an elder in the Jehovah's Witnesses, if I'm not mistaken, at age 12. Only if you're a male. Yes. You can only be you can become an elder of the church at age 12 only if you're male. Females never get to be elders in this religion. He served as an elder for approximately 15 years and worked in a printing factory in the headquarters of the Jehovah's Witnesses from 1977 to 79. And he was removed by another elder in 92 for refusing to back down on a matter involving an appointment of a child molester. He was reappointed as an elder in 94, but resigned the position in December of 2000 over the concerns that new allegations of child abuse continued to disagreement with the Jehovah's Witnesses' policies over reporting sex abuse. According to him, he was disfellowshipped in 2002 for actions they considered to be causing divisions and tantamount to apostasy. Apparently he has documents on all this, but he won't release them, or he says he won't release them because it might hurt the public image of the church. Dude, release them. The public image of the church is not important as children's.
Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of these organizations today, man. They would love just to keep their reputation intact, and they don't care about anything. For instance, when it comes to the Catholic Church in this regard, they smuggle child molesters around like illegal drugs from country to country, or even across the United States, so that they can simply avoid prosecution. I mean, it's totally fucking ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
And the same goes with a lot of these other organizations, or should I say different denominations. I remember doing a video recently about how I can't remember which denomination it was specifically, but there was a convicted sex offender, pedophile, who was with this organization, and he got busted on the street knocking on door to door, preaching to kids and their parents and stuff like that, when he's not supposed to be around them. But the church that he was with was still letting him do these things.
Jesus Christ. That's like when the previous pope, which resigned, which was kind of a different situation before, I'd never heard of before. Well, actually, that happened like once before in like 600 years. But he had also been shuffling around, that was Pope Ratzinger. He was shuffling around the pedophiles, and that was causing a big controversy within the Catholic Church as well, as I recall.
Oh, yeah. It's like the only thing that I think that the Catholic Church is a big con game, and the Pope is Al Capone, basically collecting everybody's money.
Yeah.
Well, the only way to get in trouble with the Catholic Church is either to lose money or to lose patrons.
Yeah.
As long as you're not costing them anything, they'll find some place to tuck you away.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Well, in the Vice article, it was an interesting comment that was made by the writer of it. It said, inevitably, with reports of abuse come those of denial and cover-up. And because religion, consistently wants to just deny and cover up these abuses, whether it's sexual abuse or physical abuse or neglect, the article asked, are we wasting our time cleaning up institutions that are endemically abusive? And I think that's a really pertinent question. I really liked that question because, people want to say, well, that's just that one pastor or that's just that one church. We hear it all the time.
Yeah.
And while I understand that not every believer is going to abuse their kids, okay, they think abuse and they think, well, this is about whether I spank my kid or I beat my kid or I, sell them into, to a old man, or they're sexually abused. And it's just the whole abuse. Religion is abusive from the get-go because children haven't formed critical thinking and religion stifles that. So there's so many ways it's very, very wrong for how religion abuses kids. But I mean, obviously, we're talking about the more physical ways.
It's a lot like a fraternity.
Yeah.
Every person thinks, this was done to me when I was a child, So it's my duty to do it to the next generation to keep the, tradition alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But it has the added threat of hell. It
Oh,
has
yeah.
the added
Yes,
threat of
well,
an
yeah.
eternal life and
Yeah.
all of these things that are on the line, which, again, we all fear death. I do. I don't deny that. That hasn't gone away. I've made more peace with the idea, but it's not gone away.
Yeah, no, because they want you to think that if you don't do as they say, that after you die, that you're going to somehow live on, where there's no evidence of which, that if you don't do as we say, then we're going to make sure that you go to a bad place. And then that way you're going to suffer even more. So if you thought this was bad, ho, we got way more worse for you after that. And which just blows my mind, but that's a whole other
I mean, a lot of
conversation
priests, that's
altogether.
exactly what they use.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm the messenger of God. I'm doing God's work. What I'm doing to you is what God ordained. And
Yeah.
if you don't do it, then, you're going against God.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
since I'm God's messenger, you might as well just say, if you don't give me a blowjob right now, you're going to go to hell. That's kind of a weird thing.
That's some pretty wacky shit.
Yeah. And the thing is, they do this not only to children, but which is bad as enough as it is, but they also do this to adults. When adults fall for the same shit, it's like, really? You have had the experience of age. Children don't. They have to learn from everybody else around them, and then they were told that if they don't do what this priest says to do, that bad things are going to happen to them. And I think parents are equally culpable for taking them to these churches, to any religion for that matter.
Well, for instance, one of the cases that literally pisses me off the most about all of this is this whole series I did on the Duggar family, right?
Yeah.
The parents of Josh hid away Josh's crimes until the statute of limitations ran out on every single one of them, so he cannot be prosecuted.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
I think that should
I agree
change.
with
I
that.
think that should change. Granted that it's too late for those people, even if it did change tomorrow, they would say, well, that was before, so it's not. It won't matter now. So it's not going to help. It's not, even though it won't help them, it may help somebody else later down the road.
CPS knocks down the door of a lot of people for doing things to kids, and they won't do that to this family because, well, they must be okay. Look at them. They're all bright, shiny faces. They're Christians. The fact is that what happened to those girls is going to affect the next generation. Tracy Harris was on Thinking Atheist podcast, and she was going on about, her life as a believer and how the religious indoctrination stunted her growth. And even when you're an adult, when critical thinking really hits, there comes a point in your teen years or so that you start to think beyond what it is that you've been told as a small child, which you have no resources. You're at the mercy of your parents and all the adults around you. And if everybody's a part of this cult we call religion, they don't have anywhere to turn, and they're being told all kinds of things that may or may not be true.
Yeah.
Usually not. And Tracy Harris was saying that it's really hard. It is extremely hard to break out of that as an adult. As I was listening to it, I'm going, I chastised myself for not coming to atheism sooner, because I can look at my points in my life where I was questioning everything that I had been told, but I'd also been told to obey.
Yeah.
Obedience is such a big thing in religion, and I think that's why children are sometimes the absolute worst victim. Well, they are the worst victims. They
Yes.
are the worst victims because they have no voice. They can't go out and get a job. They can't just walk away. They can't.
I wouldn't chastise yourself too hard for not coming to it sooner, because the fact is, it takes us all a different amount of time. Some people come to it right away because they have the ability to, or the environment is okay enough for them, or they were already, I would say, just like people who are born into religious families, some people are born into families that are atheist, or the family goes in that direction while the children are still young. So I wouldn't chastise yourself too harshly on that.
Yeah, I consider
I'll
myself very
see.
lucky that I was never had religion forced on me, and I had exposure to a lot of religions. There was never a point like you have to believe this. It was kind of like, well, we're religious, so you'll be religious too. And I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, for 30 years I was a Christian. I didn't even know what an atheist meant. Never met one.
You know, and the thing is, I was told that atheists were just evil people, and I was like, okay, and that was like, because this lie is repeated so often that, and I had never met one either before that time. So but growing up, I was like, and then I never really thought more about it after that. I just was like, I thought like most people, just thought, oh, I believe in a God, and so everybody else must believe in a God too. It just, it felt like it was just like it was supposed to be a normal thing. And most people just generally in their lifetime generally don't or haven't ever met anybody that's an atheist at all. But now the fact is that we have, the internet. You can see, holy shit, they're fucking everywhere.
yes, which is awesome.
Again,
Google is God. Google knows
Yeah.
everything.
yeah.
Janet Heimlich, who wrote the book Breaking Their Will, which is specifically about child abuse and repression in religion, she says that there's the 3 perfect situation indicators to identify a religious culture or community as an authoritarian community. And number 1 is the culture has strict social hierarchy, the culture is fearful, and the culture is separatist. And the more likely that these indicators are there, the more likely that children will be harmed, because these kind of religious sects, or they are very cloistered. They're very secretive amongst themselves. They isolate themselves, and again, children have no advocate. They have no voice.
Right.
And so they're at the mercy of this. And so as a survival instinct, whether children even realize they're doing this or not, they go along with the training. And the training starts from the cradle. And it's, you get your kids involved in, I did this myself. You get your kids involved in all of the Sunday school and all of the extra activities. You look at homeschooling, you look at a bunch of different reasons. And so again, you isolate the kids, and they have not only, maybe regular learning going on, but they have all of this indoctrination. And so we as human beings, we want to survive.
Right.
So they don't ask questions.
Right. I just want to make a couple comments here. Dawkins from the chat room said there should be no statute of limitations on child abuse, which I just want to go back to real quick. And he says in the UK, they're prosecuting celebrities and politicians who abused kids back in the 1970s. I think that's great. I think I wish we had that here, but because of the laws in this country, it's like, yeah, that happened 20 years ago. It's kind of hard to prove. Stuff like that. It's been gone for so long. If it happened like yesterday, we could have done something about it. I think this is the mentality that they go through. It's that they think that, well, it's too much time has passed. Only if it's like something serious, where like murder, for example, that's affected lives, and that life has come to a stop. So they have no limitation on that. There are very few crimes that have no statute of limitations. That'd be one of them. Unfortunately, child abuse doesn't have that.
I personally think that child abuse should be murder. You're murdering the innocence of a child.
I would say I agree to you on a certain point to that, yes. Now, Connie was speaking about training up children. There's a book out there. It's called How to Train Up a Child. This book has been, I don't want to say it's directly responsible, but it's culpable for people using this book, written by these fucking crazy-ass people, saying, this is what you do to children that don't obey you. I'm going to read a small excerpt here. Now, this was taken from Training Rosanna's Flesh. Okay, it also explains how one must control a child at all costs. All costs. That's very key here. It says, for example, a child tries to slide from your lap onto the floor. On most occasions, that's just the way of letting you know that they want to go. Fine. But there are times when you do not want to let him slide onto the floor. If your little 14-month-old makes an attempt to dismount your lap, you indicate to them that you do not want him to, and it makes him protest by jerking away or whining, then by no means can you allow him to intimidate you into compliance. For by you doing so, you have allowed your authority to pass to him. You would be encouraging rebellion. You must always perceive to win any contest. All caps on that. It is determined by what the child thinks. It is, if there is a seed of resistance in the child, it must never be allowed to grow. Don't allow the spirit of rebellion to become profitable. Holy
There we go.
shit.
Spirit of rebellion. It's fuck that term. I'm sorry, but
No, you're right. Fuck that fucking
yeah.
term.
With a rusty rake.
You know, I mean, there's times when you want your child to absolutely obey you, and
Yeah.
they might not, especially a toddler. They can't reason. And walking in a parking lot and they want to run and dart, you know, they need to learn. And you need to stand there and hold my hand. But, you know, to spank your child into that kind of submission? No. No.
Well, the Bible says, honor thy father. If you don't honor thy father, you'll go to hell. So in their minds, they are protecting their child by beating their child into submission and causing them to never doubt their parents, to never question their parents, to always honor their parents. They are saving them from eternal damnation. That's the logic that they use.
Yeah.
And another thing that they use another thing, now they don't use it now, but another thing that really gets on my nerves, you know, is for unruly children to be taken out to the edge of town and stoned to death.
Oh yeah, you used to do that. That's actually a verse right out of the Bible that say if your children get out of the line, or they say if the child is drunkard or whatever, you're supposed to take them out of town and fucking stone them and bring all your friends because it's a party apparently.
Yeah.
The real Paul Marshall said in the chat room here is all caps is an indication that the typist is aware of they're full of shitness.
This would have been the shit show if we hadn't already named it. But.
Yeah. I actually had a conversation. I was trying to have a conversation with somebody a couple days ago, actually. Some Christian, she was saying I was defending a Muslim, and she was apparently obsessed with her caps lock because every word was in caps. The whole thing was in caps.
God.
I mean, I could see using for emphasis on certain words, but for a whole line of conversation, unless you know that there's a thing that turns that caps lock off, that's not a conversation. You're just screaming into the ether at that point.
Well, there's some people who use the excuse, well, I can't see very well, so I use all caps so I can read it, which is a bunch of crap because you're responding to people who are not using it. And those are the ones you're supposed to be reading, not your own shit.
Exactly. In business computers, they do use caps as a standard default. I don't know why, but it just is. So I think there should be more nuance, but that's me.
Torvarin says, it's amazing how Christians, will use the reasoning of a child as evidence in their argument, but only when the child agrees with them.
Yeah.
And a little child shall lead them, and they will, especially in the more Baptist and fundamentalist, circles, they will go ahead and accept a child's conversion testimony and baptize them when they're 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
Just little kids, or having those little kids parading around as preachers. God, as long as it confirms their bias. And that was that was one of the other things, is that was an interesting point I found on a video today. Children are hardwired to believe things that they can't even see. Little children, they just accept that. And religion really exploits that. It just, it sticks in there. And that's just, I don't know, that infuriates me because bias is really huge. Instead of saying, here's my unbiased evidence, people say, no, here's my evidence. Believe me, we need to see the world as it is and not as we want it to be. And the adults who do this to kids are just as enslaved as the kids, if not more. And it's sometimes they come from a good place where they say, I want to spend eternity with my kids. I believe in heaven. I wouldn't want them to go to hell.
Right.
But no, there's so many ways it cripples a mind.
Yeah. You know, this,
let alone bodies.
Yeah, the thing is here, they start going back to this training up a child crap. This is on, I'm going to read another excerpt here. Now, apparently, this is from page 79. They recommend to switching, meaning to beat, a 7-month-old child. How fucking obscene is this? I mean, I see a lot of what people perceive to be obscene. You know, people having sex, you know, porn and whatnot. They say that's unacceptable. Having two people who have agreed to have sex is acceptable as long as they both agree. Especially if, you know, they both agree to do it for money, you know, on camera. But that's another story. The problem is here, that child is too young to understand or realize. You wouldn't go and beat a dog or an animal if it doesn't understand what it did, because it took a shit on the carpet. 5 seconds and 5 seconds pass. It's like, what did I do wrong? I don't know what you're beating me for. The animal doesn't understand. A 7-month-old doesn't understand. He has the cognitive understandings yet. But they recommend beating a 7-month-old for crying. Here's the excerpt from that page. A 7-month-old boy. I'm wondering why they keep going after the boys. They don't say child. They just say boy in this instance. Anyway, I'm going to reread this. I'm sorry. A 7-month-old boy had, upon failing to get his way, stiffened clenched fists, bared his toothless gums, called down damnation on a whole place. Really? At a time like that, the angry expression on a baby's face can resemble that of one instigating a riot.
Man, I catch someone doing that, they're going to end up toothless.
Yeah. The young mother, wanting to do the right thing, stood there helpless consternation, apologetically shrugged her shoulders and said, "What can I do?" My incredulous 9-year-old whipped back, "Switch him." The mother responded, "I can't. He's too little." With the wisdom of a veteran who had been on the end of a switch, my daughter answered, "If he is old enough to pitch a fit, he is old enough to be spanked."
So
You're going to take it.
Daughter
9-year-old,
already.
Yeah. 9-year-old daughter? You're going to take advice from a 9-year-old who has not the cognitive semblance to understand empathy yet. I mean, they can to a point, and babies even understand empathy to a point, but when you're at that age, you don't understand completely yet. A lot of this stuff is still new processes for you. And you're like, well, that thing is pitching a fit. Why should I? I don't care. It's not my kid. I care for more about my toys and where I'm taking a shit the next morning. And if there's breakfast on the table, this thing is making noise at me.
That's disgusting, man.
It is. Yeah. And they think this is perfectly acceptable. Oh, yeah. When the child says something in line with my beliefs, oh, yeah, then I'll listen to the child. But the child says something that's counter to my beliefs, then the child's automatically wrong.
Well, you know what they say, spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yeah. Now, some people claim that's in the Bible. It's actually not in the Bible, but that's where they get that from. And it's really obscene, I think.
It is. And unfortunately, there's a lot of situations where a lot of these people get away with it because, like I've said so many times, Christianity gets a special fucking pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Contact us by email at PPAPodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter as @PackardPokesat. Like us on Facebook.com/PackardPokesat. Call our Google Voice and leave a message at 662-709-PPAP or 662-709-7727. And we will respond to it on the show. Friday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time. Join us live at vonlive.tv/PackardPokesat. During the show, you can share your thoughts with us by calling 857-216-3200 using PIN number 35368 or on uberconference.com/PackardPokesat. For links to the stories, visit our show page at packardpokesat.wordpress.com. You can help support the show by purchasing merchandise from cafepress.com/PackardPokesat or make a donation to the show at patreon.com/PackardPokesat. If you can't afford any money, why not share the show with your friends and rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spreaker, and on YouTube. For everyone that shares and rates us, you kick ass.
The Atheists,
The Bible.
and No Wardrobe, the podcast.
Wait a minute. No wardrobe? You mean we're going to be naked while we do this?
Well, seeing how I'm an atheist and I'm reading the Bible, and since clothes are flammable,
Fire! Fire! Fire!
I thought it might be a good idea to take them all off first.
Naked or not, follow along as we read, analyze, and try to keep you from falling asleep as we go through this boring-ass book.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spreaker. Who knows? We may even be on YouTube someday. And the thing here, I think, is really abhorrent about all this, is these same religious people. Not all, of course. I'm not gonna use a broad brush on this. I'm not gonna say all religious people on this, because there are some people who are definitely not in this camp. But there are religious people out there who will go after people who are gay or lesbians, or which is also gay, but we use a different distinction. I don't understand why, but there it is. Or people who are part of the LGBT community or trans or whatever, and they will say some really horrible shit, saying that what you're doing is against my religion, against my God, whatever. But then they turn around and they say, well, yeah, he was abusing children, but that's not the whole church. And they never will blame the church, even when the church says, okay, yeah, we were found out doing this thing, but we're going to do is we're going to go, shh, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. And just go home, pack your bags. We've got you set up in another church. They don't know anything about your history. Just go there and just pretend like none of this happened, and we'll make sure this gets all swept underneath the rug. And we'll threaten them with internal damnation if they speak about it, and they'll buy it because they think that we'll send them to hell because that's what we're going to tell them.
You know what pisses me off about all of this too?
What's that?
Is that a lot of these Christians, hashtag not all, but a lot of these Christians will, simply sit there and waste their time protesting the LGBTQ community and saying that they're horrible perverts, this and that, et cetera, et cetera. But when a religious person within their own circles commits a horrible crime against a child, where are all the protests for that? Where are all the Christians out there in the middle of the streets protesting, this type of situation? They don't do that.
Yeah.
I've never seen one.
I've never seen that either. I've seen them out there protesting, saying, oh, abortion is murder and everything like that, when their own Bible says there's nothing wrong with abortion. In fact, it promotes abortion. I've talked to these people. I said, hey, if you were out here saying stop rape, I'd stand out here as an atheist. I'd stand out here with you. But you're saying abortion is murder? No, abortion is not murder. And I just want to, Torvin from the chat room said, the Bible says, whoever spares the rod hates their child. It does say that, but it never says spare the rod and spoil the child. It doesn't say that. People take that line completely out of context. Thank you, Torvin, for giving us the correct context on that.
Oh, but the Bible thinks it's a good idea for, a bald religious man to call upon two bears to kill 40 children.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And the apologist's excuse on that is like, oh, they weren't children. They were like teenagers, adults, young adults.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I've heard that excuse. And like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't say that. It said kill the kids. That's not the exact wording, but it's pretty damn close right there. But yeah, and their crime, calling somebody bald. Yeah. Oh no, you called me a bald because I am a bald. Oh no, God, kill these kids. Yeah, you're pretty bald, but I'm the magic genie in the sky. So, boom, bears.
Yeah. Female bears.
Female bears. Oh yeah,
Yep.
let's not forget that. Yeah, female bears, because apparently the female ones are worse.
Yeah, I believe they use the term she-bears, if I'm not
Yeah,
correct.
she-bears.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is the exact wording, yes. Yeah, Real Paul Marshall says, heresy against one's own true atoms. But the fact is that these people keep giving money to these institutions that they know have had these things happen in the past, and they are still happening today. I really wish that people would stop giving money to the church for any reason. We need to shut these places down, and the best way to do it is through attrition. Don't give them money. If people say, well, what about all the good they do? It doesn't matter how much good that they're doing. If I were a serial killer and I went out to feed the homeless on my weekends, but during the rest of the week I go out and murder people, does that make it okay? Does oh, well, I may be a serial killer, but I go out and feed the homeless. That doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean goddamn motherfucking shit.
No.
Just because I do one good thing doesn't mitigate the bad things I've done.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, one of the things that churches do is convince people that to assuage their sins or their bad feelings or whatever is to give the church money. Give the church money and your sins will be forgiven.
Yeah.
Come on, give the church money. Daddy needs a new walking stick.
Yeah, no shit. One of the cardinals that had done this shit was this was over in Kosovo. He wasn't here in the United States, but it's still part of the Catholic Church. He had a string of historical offenses against teenage boys and a girl. After he returned to Britain from Kosovo following a 5-year police hunt. For 5 years, the police were hunting this motherfucker down.
Man.
Father Lawrence Soper was accused of assaulting 5 boys, one under the age of 14 at the time, over a period from 72 to 86. 9 of these includes offenses of buggery. I'm not even sure what buggery is anymore. That's a very old term. Gross indecency and indecent assault. The 72-year-old was arrested as he arrived in Luton Airport. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. By police and Scotland Yard's Sexual Offences, Exploitation, and Child Abuse Command. Now, the Friar Soper, who was detained under a European arrest warrant in Kosovo in May, will appear at East Elling's Magistrates Court. 4 of the charges, including the buggery, gross indecency, and indecent assault, relate to a single victim, alleged victim, from February 17th, 1972, and to February 18th to 76. The boy was aged under 14, which I mentioned earlier, carried out a gross act of indecency against him, as it's alleged. That's just sick.
Yep.
The fact is that they have to wait so long for justice. If I were to go to the store, just my local store, pick up, I don't know, a bag of flour, anything, doesn't matter, walk out the door without paying for it, I'd be arrested on the spot, if not arrested immediately sometime thereafter. But the fact is that these people are committing much... I'm going to say that's a worse crime. It's a much worse crime than me walking out of the door with a bag of flour, obviously, or a cart of groceries, for that matter.
One thing that's very unfortunate, and this is semi-universal, is when an individual commits a crime against an organization, they are punished immediately. When an organization commits a crime against an individual, it takes years to get any kind of action.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Dawkins says buggery. Sod that. I don't know. Dawkins, you're gonna have that's from your area. You're gonna have to tell me what buggery is. I apologize.
Religion and money gives people a lot of unnecessary power.
Yes, it does. It gives them power that they don't deserve.
Nor actually have. They just think they have it, and people, because they pretend they have power, people give them the respect of that power.
Yes, exactly. They say, "Oh, well, I speak for God. You must listen to me." Just because you say that doesn't mean shit. I could make the same claim. I speak for the flying spaghetti monster.
And he told me to tell you to give me $100.
That's right. He told everybody here. He spaghetti monster speaking to me. So yeah, everybody here has to send me money. Does that mean anything? Abso-fucking-lutely not.
But it does to all these whack jobs that they're so convinced that God is real, or so wish so badly that God is real, that if anybody, snake oil salesman on the street says, "Oh, I have the Holy Spirit, I have the Word of God," they will immediately flock to them and give them their money blindly, because that reinforces their delusion, and they want to believe it, so
yeah,
they'll pay to get it.
Dawkins from the chat room, thank you for filling us in on what buggery meant. Buggery, it means sodomy or sometimes anal sex.
Yeah.
So
one of the things that pissed me off is I seen some figures recently. The churches here in this country are costing the taxpayer $75 billion a year.
Yeah. We should the churches should be taxed, but that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
But you're right. The money that is going to the churches, that it could be going to real programs that are helping children. Not these, well, we got to make sure we get bringing the money so we can build bigger churches and fit in more people to bilk them out of more money, and so we can get in more kids in there.
And take advantage of them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm waiting to, I haven't heard anything.
You know those kids aren't going to bugger themselves.
Well,
they might.
I've heard people tell me to go bugger myself, but that's, it's like, well, if you want to help, I mean, that's I got time. I got time,
Well, you got to buy me dinner first, Packard. Damn it.
How does McDonald's sound? No.
Oh, come on. At least make it Outback Steakhouse, man.
Oh man, I can't afford that shit.
Just know when a priest says he's going to fill you with the Holy Spirit, you better run.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I it's like God wants to fill you up. It's like no, sorry. No, that's not my thing. Sorry.
Shit, I have a sign on my ass that says exit only, man.
I didn't know the Holy Spirit was so sticky.
Yeah, Talking Primate says, newsflash, priests rape kids, film at 11. Yeah, that's basically it. That's why.
And on our recurring news story.
Yeah, and the fact is that we've actually had so many come across the desk here at the show that it's like, we talked about this the week before and the week before and the week before that. And it's like, when does it stop? When does it ever going to stop? I mean, that we will talk about it on the show as as one of our regular stories every once in a while. But the fact is, it happens so often. It's like saying, it's like what happens with gun deaths in this country alone. It's like, yeah, there was another gun death. Oh, surprise! And like it washed over. You're like, oh yeah, someone got killed.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, man. We see so much of this barbaric bullshit. A lot of society has become desensitized to it,
Exactly my thoughts on that. We've become completely desensitized from it. It's like, okay, it's like saying, oh, a little boy got raped by someone in the Catholic Church or some other religion. I was like, okay, why don't you just tell me how you went down and filled out your grocery list? It has the same goddamn impact.
Yep. And that shit pisses me off. When you put a child in an unsafe environment like that, man, you have no respect from me.
Yeah.
Well, but the church, the religion itself, has this built-in aura of respectability and safety. Parents think that this is a safe place. They don't even have to check it out. They don't have to vet this. They don't have to think about who is their Sunday school teacher because it's some nice-looking lady or a man and blah blah blah. God, it's so stupid to me, and we just are supposed to accept it.
Right. Yeah, and the thing is, going back to something else I said earlier, is that people talk about someone and something that Connie just mentioned there too. They give their kids over to someone's religion because religion automatically means you're automatically good. Because you can't be anything else, apparently. Not to them. You're just like, oh, you represent God. God is good. You're God's representative. Therefore, by extension, you're good. You don't believe in God. You're automatically bad because bad people don't believe in God. only
Well,
bad people believing the devil or shit like that, which is definitely not a true.
Religion gives a lot of people a false sense of security, man.
Yeah.
It's like me
There you go.
telling a young kid, go out and play in that busy street. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I want to mention another Catholic priest here. He had worked at a former children's home. Why? Had been jailed for 12 years, only 12 years, after admitting sexual abuse of 13 children dating back to the 1970s. Phillips Temple, age 66, sentenced at Woodruff Crown Court after pleading guilty to 20 charges of sexual assault in April and a further 7 charges during the week of this article came out. Temple twice stood trial in the late 90s. The first in the case, the jury trial was unable to reach a verdict, and Temple was acquitted in a retrial. Holy shit.
Wow. I tell you what, Lady Justice needs to pull that blindfold off of her face, man.
I think so. Now, before passing sentence, Judge Christopher Eyre apologized to one of the victims that justice was not done when you came to court in 1998 and 1999. The fact that he had to go to court twice over this is a bit disgusting. The court apparently had heard the victim had become a self-harming recluse and had attempted suicide following the trials. He said, "I can only imagine the damage that has caused to the other victims. We can never escape from what he did, and we can never be free of it." The victim, who cannot be named for legal reasons, told the court Temple was an extremely skilled liar and manipulator with sociopathic qualities.
Man.
It's just horrible. It's just really horrible. Now, apparently the judge said there had been another missed opportunity to bring Temple to justice when the youngest victim, who was 6 or 7, was abused by Temple when he had worked for Wainsworth Council in South London, began civil process proceedings against the council in 91. According to Jonathan Packard, prosecuting the civil case appeared to be settled with no payment. The police did not investigate when the victim reported the alleged abuse 4 years later. The cops didn't look into it. Brilliant. Brilliant job, cops. This is why I have a problem with cops. Not because I have a problem with them killing people left and right. That's a given. But the fact is, they do the same thing. They fall into the same category of bias. Oh, religion. Well, there is a priest or whatever. So obviously these people are making shit up. Why could he do anything like that? But that's not the case. If you're called to do a job, it's to investigate somebody because somebody made a claim, just because they have a collar on their neck doesn't mean that they're automatically innocent. It doesn't mean they're guilty automatically either. It means if someone makes a claim that says, hey, this happened, do your goddamn job and fucking investigate.
Yeah, but they don't,
Yeah.
Christians love to protect that religion of theirs.
Dawkins asked if the teachers over here have criminal records bureau backgrounds to check the pastors. Actually, I think they do. If you have a criminal record, you can't teach. That's the law. I think that's the law. I think it may vary from state to state to some degree, because I have heard instances of teachers who have had situations where they've abused somebody, but they went to another state and they were able to teach again. But in most cases, I think that their licenses are revoked depending on the severity or if they have just been accused and not been convicted of anything.
Yeah. Shit, I got a list bookmarked of over 400 sex offenders who are Christian. Some of them are even in the political arena.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's not a good.
What I hate about that reference, though, is I think it sometimes gives believers a chance to say that, we asked the question, kind of a nature versus nurture. Do you have pedophiles and abusers who seek out positions of authority because they want to abuse, or is it just a wash? I mean,
yeah. Dawkins also said, here, anybody who works with children has to have a CRB check, but I don't know if it applies to the clergy. That's a good thing to check out. I think would be a good idea to find out. If clergy has to have CRB, I'm not sure what CRB means. Oh, Criminal Record Bureau. He said that previously. I apologize. So yeah, I
That's
think
interesting.
I think that's a good question. Do they have that? And why, if they are exempt, why are they exempt?
I've been a part of several churches that had to get a new pastor or youth pastors, and being a part of the general, population of the church. The only one we actually voted on was the head pastor. So I don't remember my ex-husband or anybody saying that you had to have a criminal background check on anybody.
Yeah,
Maybe that's changed.
I
mean, it's
would hope so.
I think
Yeah, me
it's
too.
a rather new thing. They're doing criminal background checks for everything. I volunteer at my daughter's school, and just to volunteer at the school, they have a
Wow.
criminal background check.
It
Yeah.
might be also vary from state to state too. So.
I had to have a background check to babysit my currently youngest grandson.
Really?
Yeah. Well, my daughter was on state's assistance, and so that was how I was getting paid. And so, yeah, and not just myself, but my husband and my youngest daughter and my youngest son.
Wow.
We all had to have a background check.
Wow.
So
I've never heard of that before. Of course, that it was a long time ago. I used to babysit my nieces and nephews. Of course, I was about 12 years old, and they were about 7 or 8 years old. So I was babysitting a lot of them. So, but they didn't go. Yeah, we got to come and check your thumbprints out.
well, I think it has more to do if the state is paying your paycheck.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, because the state wants to make sure everything's, on the up and up, I should say, for the lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Which is good. Which
Yep.
really, but again, positions of authority and leadership, they should at least be that well vetted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that's unfortunately the one place that they do separate church and state. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
It's like it's state rule, but if you're in church, you can
I've always said that if the founding fathers were alive today, they would be putting foot to ass.
Mhm.
I would hope so for some of these things. I would hope so. Unfortunately,
too.
unfortunately they don't on a lot of things. And although, not to break that argument though, John, because a lot of other people go to the founding fathers and like, yeah, they lived in a different time, so I wouldn't trust everything that they said to begin with, and now in our current situation as it is. So,
Yeah.
But on some things I probably would, but not everything. I would just go by what we've learned today so far.
It just infuriates me when I see people who use this fantasy of theirs to take advantage of children, man.
Oh, I believe you. I believe you, and I do too. I see it. I see this so often myself, and it infuriates the fuck out of me.
And it's just, like I've told you previously, Packard, when it comes to childhood indoctrination, child abuse, et cetera, it is one of the primary reasons, one of the core reasons why I do the things that I do on my channel.
I know.
Yeah.
I know it is. On my route, I have to take, and I go right by a Catholic church, which is also a school and everything like that. And because I'm prevented from doing so because I'm in my work truck, I just want to go by when those kids are out there and I say, God is not real. Stop listening to these fuckers. Go home. Run. Get away from these people. They're lying to you.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that. I would love to do that, but that I can't.
I know, right? Them religious people would be quick to call the cops on you.
Oh, absolutely. Or they call my office and they say, that person's doing a thing, and screaming out the window, saying things, and I'm like, yeah, that'd go over like a lead balloon in a fucking.
They'd be like, he's at it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got screamed at because I yelled at somebody that I mentioned the abortion thing. I said, hey, pray to stop rape. Well, I said, why don't you pray to stop rape instead of abortion? And they called my office and they complained because I said that thing. They were saying I was swearing at them and everything like that, and that wasn't true because I just didn't do that. I do swear a lot on this show. That yes, I do that. Here I do it.
You know,
in
and
comments,
that's
I do
another
it.
thing
Not,
when it comes to abortion, right? You know, a lot of these Christians are so concerned with life when it's just a fetus. But the moment, 22 children get gunned down in a kindergarten school, right? What are the excuses that come out of their mouth? Oh, well, you guys kicked God out of school, so he ain't there to protect him anymore.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's such bullshit.
Well, pro-life is not pro-life. Pro-life is pro-fetus.
Yeah,
As soon as that baby's born, then it's on its own.
Yeah, it's just pro-birth. I just call them
Yeah.
pro-birthers. Just
Okay, I remember when Pat Robertson, before he was totally decrepit, and a bunch of people that, they were flipping the script basically by saying pro-life because they were saying it was because originally, these people are anti-abortion. And I said, well, we're going to call ourselves a pro-life. It was him and James Dobson. And so this is entirely wordplay to make yourself look more sympathetic.
Yeah.
And it really churns my stomach that they did that.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, it was in the 80s. It was pro-choice, and the church was anti-choice.
Yes,
Yeah.
And
thank
they
you
changed
very
it from
much.
anti-choice
Sorry.
to pro-life.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
The-
So, because it sounds more positive. It sounds like you're moving towards something and not against something.
Yeah, yeah. One last comment here from the chat room. Dawkins' dog says, "You kick God out of the schools. It's why God doesn't know anything about evolution."
No child left behind, right?
No child left. Well, God's pretty old now. He's no child apparently. So
Sorry, John.
Maybe we should put God in a classroom with Richard Dawkins. Maybe he'll learn something.
yeah, there you go. There you go.
God on Facebook
Dawkins,
is cool, actually.
yeah, Dawkins would definitely school God for sure. So anyway, we're coming up against our clock here. John, what are your last thoughts on child indoctrination?
It should be eradicated. Simple as that. It's unnecessary. When one preys on the innocence of a child, that's preposterous to me. This type of mindset should be eradicated. I mean, on one hand, I could, completely respect the fact that, it's a parent's right to choose whatever they want to do with their child. But when it comes down to it, you should be teaching your child how to think, not what to think.
Right. I get.
Yes.
I get that. I get that in spades.
And you have to give them options. Let them come to their own rational conclusions, because if you want to indoctrinate them with this ridiculous fairy tale, man, you're not going to do them any justice at all.
Right. I get that. I totally get that. Tom, what are your last thoughts on child indoctrination?
Every religious parent likes to pretend that they're giving their child the choice. Our child is free to choose whatever religion they want. We're just only going to expose them to the one.
Yeah.
If there's going to be teaching of religion, and I'm for teaching of religion because people need to know what the hell religion is, they need to teach 10 different religions.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you can teach yours plus 10 other major religions, and then when they turn 15, they get to choose which one they want to pick, including not getting to pick one at all.
Exactly.
You can't teach somebody one single thing and expect them to make a choice.
Yeah.
If you're going to pretend you're giving them a choice, you've got to actually give them a choice.
Exactly. Connie, what are your last thoughts on this?
I don't know. I think Tom kind of took mine because I think that's, I don't know. We fear what we don't understand. And if people would just admit that they don't understand life and death and all of these things, they would probably not be so worried about, what happens after this. That's what religion's all about.
Right.
Well, I've had so many Christians tell me that they know for certain that their God is real. It's like, well, have you studied Islam? How do you know Islam is not the one true God? It's like, well, I've looked into Islam and I know that it's not real.
Yeah.
Well, there's a hell of a lot of people who think it is, and that yours is the wrong one. So,
yeah. Well,
isn't that ironic? Yeah.
Now, before I speak here, I want to read a couple more last comments from the chat room. Dawkins Dog says, "What boils my piss, I never thought of boiling piss, but thank you for that image, is when Christians claim teaching children about evolution is indoctrination. And he continues on, the problem is with teaching multiple religions in school is it's open to abuse with the teacher, implying Christianity is the true one and denigrating the others. I actually agree with him on that point, especially. But if it's done right, if it's done by somebody that says, hey, this one religion is not necessarily the right one, but we're going to teach you about all of them at an equal playing level. I'm not going to say this is the right one and this is the wrong one. You need to come to your own decisions on that. I think that would be a better way to approach it. However, most people don't think rationally like that, and they won't.
Exactly.
Yeah, they won't think rationally on that, and most people, especially if they're religious, and since they are still 70% of the community of our United States here anyway, they're going to teach their religion. Or if it was somewhere else, they're going to teach the religion that they are born into. They won't remain neutral. They don't want to remain neutral.
Or that our tribe is, right? I mean, our tribe, our community.
Right. But anyway, my final thoughts on it, I'm with John. I want child indoctrination to go away. I want it eradicated. I think if they want to teach their children, fine. But they should wait until they become old enough to make reasonable decisions. Wait until they turn 18. Or, because we don't allow children to go and buy lottery tickets until they're 18. Don't let them buy alcohol until they're 21. They don't let them buy cigarettes until a certain age. I think the same thing should be done with religion. Let them be old enough to make reasonable decisions. Until then, you don't teach them about it at all. You teach them right from wrong, but that's as far as it should go.
Yeah. Well, when you look at the Bible, it's just basically another Stephen King novel, right? There's all this murder, genocide.
Yeah. Stephen King writes better than this. We've been reading the Bible and the atheist.
I know,
Bible,
right?
Yeah, it's a lot better. Stephen King writes a lot better. Anyway, we got to get out of here. I want to thank everybody for coming. We'll be back next week with our regular longer show, our regular long show. Until then, this has been Packard Pokesat, and this has been Okay, Let's Talk.
And that's a wrap.